gathered from the last video that I was in Belgium last week, and I think a lot of people get the impression that because I'm traveling I must not be sick. A lot of people can't seem to process this image of having fun while traveling and also being too sick to work, and think that if you're able to travel from point A to point B, you should be able to hold a job. The thing you have to consider is, first of all, a single snapshot is not showing you my entire day. I can get up there and smile for 5 seconds, but that doesn't mean that the entire day was. Generally, when I have something that I have to do, I am anxious about getting it done, and that extra adrenaline helps me get through it. Whereas if it's the kind of thing where you have to do every day, you don't have that adrenaline rush helping you get through it. And then for the most part when I travel, it's not like I'm going out sightseeing or walking around the city or doing any typical touristy things. I'm just doing the exact same thing I always do in another place, which is spending most of my day in bed, getting up and showering, going out to buy food, cooking my food, eating, and that's it. That's pretty much my day. All that really changes is the person that I'm staying with, and I get to have that interaction with them when they're home in the evening. But other than that, I also have different options of food when I go to the store, because different stores, of course, sell different products. But it's not like I'm going out partying all night just because I'm traveling. And when you work a job, that means that you have to be there a certain number of hours a week. And, you know, let's say a lot of people work 40 to 60 hours, but let's say I got a job for just 20 hours a week. That's still, let's see, 20 divided by 5, that's 4 hours a day if you're working a 5-day week. 4 hours a day is a lot. The last several years when I was trying to continue working, I couldn't even manage 1 hour a day. So imagine somehow earning enough to get by when you're working less than an hour a day. How do you pull that off? Who's going to hire you to work such a short amount of time? And if I have the energy to go to the store and buy food, go to the doctor, go deal with some sort of bureaucratic issue, that's all my energy right there. So imagine if I had spent my energy on working already, how would I then have the energy to go to the store and shower and do everything else, you know? Even though I'm not working, it still takes me a really long time to get around to doing basic stuff like cleaning my room or clipping my nails. Yeah, or just moisturizing my skin even though it's incredibly dry. That takes a lot of energy. Yeah, just imagine if I had to go to work, I wouldn't, I would be a total mess. I would just be a zombie. I would never be able to speak to anyone. And I say would be, but actually it was. That was my life for a long time, which is why I know what will happen if I go down that road again. And yeah, I'm a bit scared to end up in that position again, but I also don't want to jeopardize the level of health I have now. Why does it need to come to me being bedbound and institutionalized before I can get help? I need help now. I need help before it gets to that point. And yeah, I know they're not saying that working should be easy. They're saying that you have to work because how else are you going to get by? When I was at that point, I wasn't really getting by. I was barely surviving. Are you really supposed to just keep pushing until it gets even worse? It's really become a matter of self-preservation. I can't let it get to the point where I can't get out of bed at all to feed myself because nobody else is gonna do it for me. I need to stop while I'm still at a point where I can do that for myself. And if that means not going to work so that I can continue doing these basics, then that's what I'm gonna do. And on most jobs, you have to put on that nice appearance and be able to smile and interact with people. And generally when I'm out, I'm not making conversation with people. I'm just looking for the nearest place to sit down. And if I do have to talk to somebody, it's mumbled and searching for the words and sounding very confused. Not the kind of thing that's gonna, like, sell products or anything. So really you can't equate traveling with working, especially because I'm not actually traveling for fun. It's not like I'm going on holiday. I'm typically going to take care of something that needs doing. Christmas before last, I was completely alone. I was living in a dorm and everybody else was gone traveling, and I didn't even want to admit to them that I had nothing planned and I wasn't going anywhere because it was just so sad. But I didn't want to spend the little money I had traveling somewhere either. So this past year I decided to go ahead and see my friend that I'd wanted to see the year before because I felt that emotionally I needed that. And that felt really strange to me, to be traveling somewhere even though I didn't have something that needed doing when I got there, just to hang out with my friends. But even when I got there, a lot of the time they were hanging out. I was just like laying in bed resting, and then I would come join them for a while, but I wasn't really up to even just, hanging out with them at home all day. I did travel to Belgium. I was going to an event that's been planned since last summer, and I didn't decide for sure that I was going until about a week ahead of time because my life is just way too uncertain to make plans too far in the future, and I didn't want to have to cancel if something more important came up and I had to be somewhere else. Typically, if somebody suggests doing something, I prefer them to give me at least a day's notice so that I can sort of mentally prepare myself. I can also physically get everything together and make sure that I haven't already used up my day's energy doing something else. I had a horrible migraine the night before I was supposed to leave. Woke up the next day and still had a headache, and ended up leaving for this thing without, I didn't know where my wallet was. I left my phone behind. I left my LDN behind. It was a huge mess, and I was totally miserable. But I planned to arrive a couple days ahead of time so that I would have time to rest once I got there, because as much as I can predict something that is so predictable, it changes from moment to moment. Last time I was on the road a few weeks ago, I did need a few days to recover afterwards. If you were to travel with me, you could see me get my bags together, carry all that weight on my back, walk to the train station, you know, sitting in the bus, whatever, and I look completely normal. Well, I'd say I look fairly normal. I think you'd be able to tell that after a while I'm not really making small talk. I just want to like sit and just be when I'm pretty much on E. But the next couple of days are going to be rough. So I definitely did need that extra buffer of time. And then when I do go out, it's always as late as possible. Yeah, you gotta realize looks can be deceiving, and there's a lot going on behind the scenes that you're not getting from just a single snapshot. And, you know, people think that kind of in the same way, if you're able to go out to eat, then you must not be that sick. Like, I didn't go out to eat for years, so now that I'm like venturing out to restaurants again because I feel that my energy is a little bit better, my food tolerances are a little bit better, like still far from perfect, but I feel that they have improved slightly, so I'll chance going out, and it's really strange to be in a restaurant for me. I realized that I've lived in France for nearly 3 years, and I've never traveled around the country. I don't really know the phrases that you would use in a restaurant, even though my French is quite advanced now. There's like these big gaps of things that a normal person should know that I don't know just because I've never had the experience of going out and doing these things. And now that I will chance going out, you might see me post a picture eating and having a good time, but by the time I finish that meal, I can already be feeling consequences, and it could go on for, you know, a day or two, and that's even a risk considering that last year when I tried chancing it with food, I ended up with chronic urticaria going on for months. So just because you see me eating out doesn't mean, first of all, that I can actually tolerate the foods I'm eating, or that I'm not sick in other ways. A lot of times I will post pictures of food that's actually gluten-free, and I don't mention in the caption that it's gluten-free. So maybe people think that I'm eating normal food, but even if I do risk it and eat normal food, there are consequences that come with that. If there are people who are saying, oh, I know that I'm intolerant to this, but I just don't want to give it up, they go about their lives because they don't want to live without the foods they love. So I'm not afforded the same luxury. It's like, you know, you're not going to accept that I'm sick enough to not have to work, but I am too sick to cheat on my diet every now and then and indulge a bit in something that I used to be able to enjoy when everyone around me still gets to have it. You know, that's the thing. It's like, I think it's like being blind or deaf in a way, where if you're born that way, you don't miss seeing or hearing because you never knew what it was like to begin with. But that's not the case here. I have always had a lot of allergies, but I didn't have all of these intolerances, or at least I wasn't aware of them. I didn't know to cut all these foods out. So really, I lived most of my life eating a fairly normal diet, and now it's all been taken away from me. I'm by no means saying that you should tell someone who lives with intolerance or allergy that they should eat something that they're intolerant or allergic to. If you're allergic, obviously you should not be eating it at all. But with intolerances, it's really your own judgment call. Typically, you should avoid it because you're going to have to deal with the consequences, and it's not fun at all. But a lot of us struggle with the amount of willpower it takes to not eat foods that you love to eat. Some people will say it's just about control, like anorexia or bulimia. It's not at all about control. I lack the control to adhere to my diet because I love food. A lot of us struggle with this whole idea of cheating on our diets. And for me, it tends to serve as a regular reminder of why I need to continue avoiding these foods. Because if I don't have that reminder, then I just keep craving it, and it's like I'm never really satisfied because I'm looking at the same foods I'm eating every day, and I just don't have any appetite for them anymore. And even if I have to suffer afterward, at least I get that moment of pleasure while I'm eating it. So just allow me that much. You gotta realize you don't see, where I'm falling into bed and just laying there like for hours and can't move, or where I can push through something and go somewhere, but I'm a complete zombie and can't hold a conversation. I can't think or express myself.